What happens when you combine the fields of psychology, sociology, and history into one, and use it to predict the future? What happens when you're the main character in a plot to save the universe, and you don't know your lines? Bring these ideas together, and you end up with Asimov's one-of-a-kind sci-fi book, Foundation. I call it one of a kind, but the truth is, when I bought it off Amazon, I ended up with a stack of 7 books in a big cling film. The first 3 are a trilogy. I don't know what the rest are. They also made a TV series on Apple TV. I haven't seen it. We'll talk more about that later. By the way, this is my sci-fi uniform. It's good for when you're on the deck of a ship, or when you're cooking with hibachi. Foundation tells the story of a galaxy. An entire galaxy. The Empire is decades from collapse, and psychohistorian Dr. Harry Seldon has prepared a plan to ensure humanity bounces back. The big conflict of the book is whether or not Dr. Harry Seldon's plans will succeed. That's not really the focus. The focus of the book is on the random people who find themselves in positions of leadership at key historic moments, the moments Dr. Seldon planned for. It's sort of an anthology of short stories, all set in the same universe and with the same theme. Each individual in these stories has to ask themselves an important question. It isn't, how do we solve this crisis? It's, what did Dr. Seldon intend? It's hard to go any further into the plot without spoiling the whole thing, so here's my last comment on the topic. No single character stays with us throughout the story, with the exception of Dr. Seldon. But he's not really a changing character. He's more like the god of a clockwork universe. The plan is in action, and every once in a while, it's up to the characters to ensure that clock remains ticking. There are a lot of really cool cultures in this book. The trouble is, the scale of the conflict is so large and so spanning that no single person can survive all the way to the end. In fact, no culture can survive all the way to the end. One chapter you're learning about techno-religion, and the next you're following a merchant 100 years into the future who deals in nuclear energy. For the time we're given, every one of these cultures is compelling. But one chapter later, we're going to be jumping 3 decades into the future and forgetting all about them. Considering all the events jam-packed into this 300-page book, it isn't particularly long. In fact, I think every section of this book, every era of this book, could be converted into an entire season of the TV show. I could take this one book and turn it into 3 different seasons. There's so much in the world to flesh out. For example, there were a bunch of scientists near the start of the book working on an encyclopedia. Did one of them one day look around and realize that everything they were doing was just busy work? I'd love to see that. And what about the techno-priests? Do you know how scary it would be to be a techno-priest on a hostile world? And you know there's not just one of them. There's a whole coven of sonic screwdriver-wielding sermon givers down on that planet. The point I'm making here is that every aspect of this story could be expanded into many separate stories. This book may as well be the Cliff Notes. Foundation is the most zoomed-out book I've ever read. I didn't include a character section in this review because most of the characters aren't really characters, they're object lessons. They exist to give personal attachment to the major crises of the times. It's not just a massive trade agreement, it's 50 barbarian warlords forced to take the deal so their crew members don't mutiny. Unrelated, but it's worth mentioning this story is 70 years old. And while there's nothing especially egregious in the book, there is only one woman character, and her character is being a complaining wife. Not a good look. I hope the Apple TV series takes notes from other aspects, but improves on the characterization. For me, the most memorable part of this book is Dr. Seldon's solutions to these existential crises. Each solution is unique and draws from a different period in human history. Diplomacy, military, religion, trade. Every one of them is a lever used to manipulate other kingdoms so that our main character kingdom can slowly expand its influence. When a story captures something as large as a galaxy at war, it's hard to make that personal. Then you add in the fact that most of these crises have already been predicted and solved by Dr. Selden, and your characters start to lose their free will. It really is a clockwork universe, and they're just the players. Individual characters can be conflicted, but when push comes to shove, they fall in line and do what they're supposed to do. There are 2 more books in this series. The first one I really enjoyed, and I'm excited to read the rest. I have no doubt that the rest of them will cover more civilization-sized crises and solutions, just like the first one. But if I'm being real, what I really want to see in the next book is conflict. I want to see characters rejecting Dr. Selden's ideas. I want to see them say, I don't want to be an empire. I want them to say, I've come up with my own solution. I know it's not Dr. Selden's solution, but I'm doing it anyway. I want to feel the wheels fall off of this train. Regardless, if you like looking at the world through a civilization-sized lens or from a psychology lens, then you'll enjoy this book. Give it a try, let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know if I should be watching the Apple TV series. I've heard some good things, but I don't want to spoil my book reading experience. Anyways, thanks for watching.